Today, we're talking about a major development in a Kelp DAO exploit that's still rippling through the crypto world. According to blockchain tracking reports, the attacker has moved around $175 million worth of Ether, and the timing strongly suggests an effort to begin laundering funds after a much larger hit, reported at roughly $290 million. If you've been around crypto for a while, you know the pattern. The hack happens, the dust barely settles, and then the money starts moving. That second phase is often where anxiety spikes, because it's a reminder that these weren't just numbers on a screen. This was real capital, pulled out of the DeFi system, and now being shuffled in a way that can make recovery much harder. Let's zoom out for a second. The reason this story is blowing up isn't only the size of the theft, although that's enormous. It's what it says about the current state of decentralized finance security. DeFi platforms are built to be open, composable, and fast-moving. But those strengths can also become weaknesses when smart contract design, governance processes, or operational security leave gaps that a determined attacker can exploit. And once the attacker has the funds, the blockchain becomes a paradox. On one hand, everything is visible. Transfers can be watched in real time, wallets can be labeled, and flows can be mapped. On the other hand, the people behind those wallets are often unknown, and that anonymity can turn a transparent ledger into a very difficult puzzle for investigators. Right now, cybersecurity professionals and on-chain analysts are doing what they always do in these situations: tracking the routes, monitoring whether funds split into many smaller branches, watching for interactions with services that could obscure the trail, and trying to identify any mistakes the attacker might make. Because that's often the key. Big exploits sometimes get traced not because the blockchain suddenly becomes less anonymous, but because humans slip up somewhere along the way. For everyday investors, though, the bigger question is simpler and more uncomfortable. How safe is any of this? Events like the Kelp DAO exploit reignite the debate about whether DeFi has the risk controls it needs. What should be standard practice now? More rigorous audits, better monitoring, stricter access controls, safer upgrade paths, clearer disclosure about protocol risks, and maybe even stronger incentives for responsible vulnerability reporting before attackers find the same holes. This is also where trust gets tested. DeFi was built on the idea that you don't have to rely on a bank or a centralized institution. But trust doesn't disappear. It shifts. Instead of trusting a bank's internal controls, you're trusting code, economic incentives, and the teams and communities making decisions around that code. When a massive exploit succeeds, people naturally ask, were the risks clearly communicated? Were protections adequate? And were users realistically able to understand what they were exposed to? At the same time, it's important not to lose the full picture. DeFi can still be transformative. The idea that anyone can access financial tools, maintain custody of their assets, and participate in open networks is powerful. The potential is real. But the industry can't get there by ignoring painful lessons. It gets there by absorbing them, tightening standards, and treating security as a core product feature instead of an afterthought. So what happens next? The investigation continues. The community will keep watching wallets, tracing flows, and sharing intel. In parallel, protocols across the ecosystem will likely revisit their own defenses, because whenever one platform gets exploited in a high-profile way, other teams start asking, could the same class of vulnerability exist here too? And that's probably the most constructive takeaway. This kind of incident is a breach of trust, yes, but it's also a stress test for the entire space. If DeFi wants to grow up, it has to respond with better security practices, more transparency, and a culture that treats risk management as non-negotiable. The Kelp DAO attacker moving $175 million in Ether is not just a headline. It's a reminder that the fight doesn't end at the exploit. The next chapter is about tracking accountability and rebuilding confidence with real improvements. If the ecosystem stays vigilant and collaborates on best practices, DeFi can come out the other side more resilient than it was before.